I think it's such a big honor to be able to partner with Disney for this, and to also kind of be a culture bearer for New Orleans and for New Orleans culture. I think for Black culture, it's just truly an honor and a huge responsibility that I don't take lightly. Honestly, my first thought was probably, man, this is the thing. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and that's specifically write songs for a Disney story. Like, that's always been something that has been a dream of mine since a kid. And so my first thought was, all right, this is the opportunity. Let's lock in fully and make sure that you give all your focus to this. So I can remember kind of putting all my other projects aside and just locking into this. And I'm glad that I did that, because we got to this point. Well, initially, and mainly first, was writing an original song for the Tiana attraction at Disney. They needed a new song because it's basically a continuation of the story that we saw on Princess and the Frog. And so while the music that existed is still a part of it, they needed a new theme song that talked about this Tiana and where she was right now. And so that was the challenge. That was that process. We got to writing the song. And then we started talking about the full attraction, and because there are different movements. If you've been on Slash Mountain, different movements are happening and different songs are happening. So then I came in to help produce and curate what was happening on the full ride, and make sure from a culture perspective that New Orleans was properly represented and authentically represented. It's crazy. It's kind of why I feel like, I was meant for this moment. It's almost like my whole life was preparing me for this. One thing that I've always tried to be intentional about in my own music is that, yeah, your parents can listen to it, your kids can listen to it, it wasn't something where you got to turn it down when your kids get in the car, you know what I'm saying, or your grandparent gets in the car. So I think part of my, just my ability is to be in that world where I can speak to multiple generations. So the only difference in this was that I wasn't speaking from my perspective. I was speaking for Tiana. And but the same thing exists in me in writing that song is, I'm speaking to the whole world and want to try to connect to as many people, ages, ethnicities, nationalities, whatever. I like to try to speak to a broad group of people anyway. So that was just right in my lane. I mean, I tried to be honest, I went in reference for certain things, mostly the music, but I didn't want to get too deep into that because we were telling a new story. And so I wanted to see that in my peripheral, but also say, no, this is something fresh. So don't get too locked into that. But what I think what I took away from it was, there was such a great job done research wise, the first time. And so let's continue that story and make it even, more authentic and more true to who we are here in New Orleans and throughout Louisiana. When we play the song now, people walk out humming it. And I think ultimately, I want people to feel joy. I mean, that's me personally, but I think that's also something that Disney wants. The way you feel when you get off a Disney ride and, there's joy, and you don't even realize that music is playing a part of that, every part of that process. So I just want to see people smiling and humming the song when they get out of the ride. Little Mermaid was a huge one for me, because that's when I was old enough to really understand music. And so I started to hear my own arrangements in the midst of that. Me and my sister would do our own little remixes and stuff. And those songs are so amazing. And then as an adult, Toy Story, I mean, it's just like, man, to me, they speak to adults as much as they speak to kids. A good story is a good story. So those are a few that really have touched me throughout the years. Being a part of this process, you get to dream big. You get to see things and imagine things that you can't necessarily in other spaces. But I can we're creating a story for people, you know, to have joy. I think there's nothing more innocent than that, you know, and the kid in me is just jumping up and down that I'm finally getting this opportunity.